Sam Maskell here from This, That, and the Other and Roll 420s. Just want to let everyone know that I have a new podcast out called Sam of All Trades, where I interview very interesting people and I ask them some pretty interesting questions, and we get to know what they do and how they do it. Check it out on the Binge on this channel, where you can find our new D&D game, Roll 420s, This, That, and the Other, our podcast with me and Bryan, What's Hood with Forever Cobron, where you get the Latin flavor, Reading Ronin with Bryan, Happy News with Perry Kurtz, and our new podcast, Sam of All Trades, with me. So come check it out. Give us a like and a subscribe.
There are days when you're feeling low, and sometimes nights got you thinking cold. So I'll tell you what I do when my soul is twice as blue. I just turned on my favorite show and I sit down with the coolest bro, that's Perry Kurtz. Happy News with Perry Kurtz. He wears suspenders and cool shirts. Happy News with Perry Kurtz, a freestyle rapper who likes to flirt. Happy News with Perry Kurtz. You're gonna laugh until it hurts. It's time to smile, so stay a while on Happy News with Perry Kurtz.
Hey everybody, welcome to Happy News with Perry Kurtz. In case you haven't figured it out, I am Perry Kurtz. We try to tell you what's going on in the world and try to make you happy while we're doing it. So I work with my friend Bryan, he's behind the scenes, who will feed me the news stories, and then I will give my opinions and my impressions, my emotional feelings on them, to try and edificate, educate, and amuse you, the viewer. So, Bryan, if you're ready, what's the first story?
All right, Perry. Well, it's always good to hear you on the other end of the mic. Today's first story is it's a pretty classic one. As you know, we have been currently in quarantine, so it's been
When
a
did
little.
that happen?
I know, right? But one of the first things we're gonna hit today is some good news in history for today, the 10th. 60 years today, Los Angeles moviegoers experience Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho for the first time. After wrangling with movie censorship over controversial scenes, including the opening shot, which contained an unmarried couple sharing a bed, the infamous shower scene, and the first close-up shot of a toilet flushing, the director ended up cutting very little. It also may have been the first time the viewing public in the U.S. was required to arrive before the opening scene, with Hitchcock believing the audience would have felt disappointed having not seen the bedroom scene.
Right.
The movie starring Anthony Perkins is consistently ranked as one of the best films of all time. It made a lot of money, with people lining up around the block to be there on time. After being nominated for 4 Academy Awards, including Best Supporting Actress for Lee and Best Director for Hitchcock, Psycho centers around a woman who ends up at a secluded motel after stealing money from her employer and meeting Norman Bates, who's played by Perkins. 60 years ago to this day.
Wow.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Wow. Yes, I did. This is me back in those days. That's probably
Wow.
60 years ago. Actually, that was more than 60 years ago. Yes, I remember seeing that. I remember watching Alfred Hitchcock on television. Good evening. I'm Alfred Hitchcock. And he would get up there and he would show strange things, which later became convoluted into the Twilight Zone. They basically took Alfred Hitchcock's hour. But that was a scary movie. The shower scene with the blood splurting all over the place. And if you leave Los Angeles going east, you can actually stop at the hotel, which was the Bates Motel. I don't think anybody
Wow, I didn't know
stays there.
that.
Yeah, it really exists, but it's not called the Bates Motel, but it's got a sign that says this is where this was the Bates Motel. And I remember I shot some sort of commercial out there for some food company where I played a janitor. and we shot that in there, and it's got a big sign you pull up. This was the Bates Motel, and people are like standing there looking at it, like, oh my God, it's really a building. You know,
Very
these
cool.
days, yeah, those days the scouts would go out and find something to use. Now they'll build it if they don't have it. Yeah, it was very controversial. It was very horrifying, and left a lot of people with nightmares. Just the images were beyond belief.
Very, very cool.
Yeah,
Now, our second article, which seems a
number
little psycho when we say it out loud,
dos.
but in the wake of the lockdown, coal and natural gases may look like the biggest COVID-19 casualties. In several articles throughout the year, there has been reports on the precipitous decline of coal production and the rise in renewable resources. Now, in the twilight of the European COVID-19 wave, early signs suggest there is not going to be much in the way of recovery for coal or natural gas, which are becoming COVID casualties. According to Jennifer Rowland, a senior analyst at Edward Jones, what's front and center has been the extreme volatility and carnage that occurred in the energy sector. These companies are now in survivor mode. So, with the summer that was one of the warmest on record in many parts of the world, an oversupply of natural gas has caused the sharpest ever fall in demand for the commodity. The fall is expected to reach double that of the 2008 financial crisis, around 5% drop. So it looks like there's a lot of coal abandonment that's going on throughout the country. What do you think? Is that a good thing, bad thing?
Well, they have discussed this for many, many years. They've talked about trying to replace coal for years, because let's face it, when you see you see coal burning, you see black smoke, and people know that black smoke is not necessarily good. There's carbon particles and other gases and other things in there that are not good for you. So I think it's good that we replace it. We need a brighter future, because you don't want to look up and see dark clouds over your head. It's inevitable that they're going to have to replace that and natural gas. And natural gas, they say that the exhaust from natural gas is causing a hole in the ozone, and the ozone is what blocks the harmful rays of the sun from burning us to death. That's why people go up in a spaceship. They have special shielding to stop the rays of the sun, because they cut through everything. And the ozone layer, which had a hole in it, which, by the way, the hole in the ozone healed itself.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And they think it's because Bryan is now using deodorant. I'm not sure. But
Not
yeah,
sure.
they say not sure, but they say it's closed up. They didn't know if it was going to stay, but yeah, it's inevitable that look, cars are going to electric. They're getting away from using fumes, because the exhaust, even though you've got a muffler and it's taking away the smell, you still got to go get your car smoked,
All right.
because the exhausts are dangerous. So it only makes sense that they're doing this. Look, we want to be here in 1,000 years, but if the earth and our lives keep destroying things as we know it, we're not going to be here 1,000 years. We're going to be gone. So I think it's a great idea that they're finding ways of doing that. If I could get my hair to stop laying so flat, I got to get my head reshaped. It's getting flat on the side.
Well, the third and final article that we have is the numbers for rhino poaching have plummeted 53% during the lockdown, extending a 5-year run of
Wow.
success in South Africa.
That's great.
Very, very great. So an astonishing reprieve was celebrated in the Kruger National Park, where during April, no rhinos were killed in the intensive protection zone for the first time in almost 10 years. Between January and June, 38 suspected rhino poachers have been arrested in the KNP and 23 firearms confiscated. The ministry also reported that from January to June 2020, The National Prosecuting Authority managed to not only obtain convictions in 15 of these cases, but maintained a remarkable conviction rate of 100%. In addition to these high conviction
That's
rates, lengthy
astounding.
sentences were imposed by the courts. So that's great to hear that, from the quarantine, at least some good has happened.
100%. That means none of these guys had a leg to stand on. They
They
were
didn't get
all
away with
clearly
it.
guilty, and that's great
Yep,
because
it's really
rhinos are
good.
not vicious animals.
In February, the
The
ministry
rhino
reported a
horn.
23% decline in the number of rhinos lost to poaching in 2019, as well as a 43% decline in elephant poaching. So a decline in poaching for 5 consecutive years is a reflection of the diligent work of the men and women who put their lives on the line daily to combat rhino poaching.
That's nice to hear. It's good. It's good to hear when things work out well. That's very nice. I'm glad because
Are
rhinos are
you a
nice.
fan of
Rhino.
zoos?
Yes, I am. Only to see them. I don't think emotionally it's good for the animals. I think they're used to being out there in the wild. But I think for small children, I think zoos are good. What I think they should do with zoos is they have to capture them. I'm sorry, I understand that. But they should catch them, put them in a zoo for a while, and let them go and replace them with another giraffe so they're not emotionally scarred because it can't be good for them. If you are used to living out in the woods, and eating berries off a tree, and even other animals, I think they should do that. I think they should have temporary vacations where they're captured, shown on display, and replaced with other animals. And that way kids can see them and they can go back and have their lives. But they shouldn't live their lives in captivity.
I feel that. That's a good point of view, my friend. Well, with that being said there, Perry, what do you think about all 3 of those articles?
I think that they made me feel good.
They made me
It's
feel
nice that
good.
people are thinking more. They're thinking more about our future and our lives. And we have gone through a very dark period I would say past 25 years. People have been more self-concerned than concerned about the rest of the world. And those 3 articles are all about, making things better. And I think that's the way it should be. We should make things better for ourselves and everybody else. And that's why we try and do these podcasts. Give you something to smile about.
Very true,
Sorry,
Perry.
didn't mean to
Very
show you my
true.
teeth. That's kind of frightening.
Well, where can they find you, Perry?
They can find me at Perry Kurtz. Just Google Perry Kurtz. I'm everywhere. And I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Tumblr, I'm on Instagram, all under Perry Kurtz. And the best place to see what I do is to go to my YouTube page called Perry Kurtz. And so we're going to take us out with what I do when I'm driving. When I get in the car, I like to talk about what I see and rap. So here we go with what I call Bad Guy Driving.
Hey everybody, happy Monday to you. I'm here trying to do what I like to do. I drive along and I tell you what I see. It's about what's happening out there, ain't got nothing to do with me. And now I'm driving down the street, it's almost dark. I'm gonna go home and then I will park my car and go inside. I'm almost alive, I'm trying to get there and hoping that I don't frickin' die. Now the light is turning red. I'm telling you what I see. Yeah, that's what I said. I'm driving down.
That's
the
more
street,
than enough
let's
to be
see where
tortured.
the heck I am.
Thank you all for
I'm in
listening.
Branford. Yeah,
I'm Perry
what's up
Kurtz.
with
This
you,
is
man?
Happy News with Perry
Maybe I
Kurtz.
should turn
I want to
right
thank
and
Bryan
go
for
that
helping me
way.
keep this
The
running.
people
You
going
can see this
crazy.
on the Binge
I'm
on
going
this
slow.
channel.
I guess I'll
And look
turn
us up,
right.
tell your
The
friends,
people
and
driving
come back
on.
next time.
I'm looking round and I
The Perry
put some
Kurtz Show
in
is
the
brought to you by the Binge on
I
this
like to
channel.
do it.
You can
I
find
do
this
it
show
till
as
it
well as the
hurts.
rest of our great
In
shows,
case you
such
don't
as
know,
What's
my
Hood,
name is
This, That,
Perry
and the Other,
Kurtz.
Happy
That's
News
right,
with Perry
I do.
Kurtz,
And then
The
I
Reading
make the
Ronin,
rhyme, and
Sam of All
somehow
Trades,
it works out
and Eclectic
all
Radio,
the time.
all available on
And
the
then
Binge
the
on This
beat
channel,
might come right back
simply by
in.
searching Binge on This on
Here we
YouTube
go.
or
We're
anywhere
gonna
iPod.
do it all again. Yeah, I just went under the freeway. I